Hello, and welcome to Leadership as a Philosophy, Not a Checklist, video discussion 5. And this is going to be on the movie Glory. Now, I saw this movie when it first came out. Actually, I saw it in 1990. I think it came out in 89, but I saw it in 1990. And I remember at the time going, oh, wow, what great leadership examples. And so I don't really know that I've watched it again since then. But when I started doing this project and said, hey, I'm going to do book and movie reviews, I put Glory on the list because I had great leadership examples. So I found out a couple of things interesting while doing some research. The first one is that there are some nuanced or somewhat minor departures from what actually happened in history for the movie, which is normal, right? I'm not expecting it to be a factual documentary. And then the second thing is that there's really not a lot of external writings about Colonel Shaw, who's the main character, and what sort of leadership things that he actually believed in or thought. So what we're going to do is basically talk about where the historical variances are, and then the leadership analysis we're going to apply to the character as portrayed in the movie. So that's what we'll do. So that's sort of the premise. It's not, this is a fact, it's here's the leadership example. What I did find interesting was what I thought was great leadership when I first saw the movie. Actually, there's sort of a change of focus from what I remember initially thinking after going through this leadership hypothesis. So we're going to apply the hypothesis to the character, and hopefully I will be able to explain where I thought that this was good, but now realize that it's not, and sort of give a little bit different perspective. So that's good. I really enjoyed the movie, obviously, a bunch of great actors in there. And so hopefully you will enjoy this as well. Thanks for your time. Alrighty, so on to the PowerPoint thing. As we talked about, this is the movie Glory. And what I'm going to do first is talk about the historical variances. And the historical variances don't change the character of the movie, right? It doesn't change the story. I just had some mental impressions after watching the movie and then realized that some of these were not correct. So first thing is, the movie gives you the impression that the regiment was mostly formed of runaway slaves. Well, it was really free blacks, and not even all from Massachusetts. They were from Pennsylvania, New York, and Massachusetts because they couldn't get enough people. Some of them had escaped. Some of their parents had escaped, and then the people were born into slavery. So that's the thing. And like I said, it doesn't change the character of the movie because it's still amazing. They give the impression in the movie, there's a whole big scene about it, that the soldiers didn't have uniforms or shoes until later on in their training. Well, once again, according to the official history of the regiment, they were issued shoes and a uniform when they arrived at the Reedville camp. So, like I said, it's not a huge thing, except for it's not historically accurate. It doesn't change the nature of the movie. What was true was that they weren't issued rifles right away. They didn't get rifles until they had been there for a while. So that's fine. The pay protest, another famous scene in the movie, was actually initiated by Colonel Shaw. They were supposed to be getting paid $13 a month, and then the Army took $3 out for food and uniforms and all that sort of thing. And then I guess they were going to pay him $7, and Colonel Shaw said no. Well, the funny thing is he initiated the protest, and then they were fighting back and forth with Congress until 1964, so a year later. So the pay protest went on for a long time. However, once again, the fact that they were protesting that they weren't getting paid enough is accurate. It just wasn't initiated by the soldiers. There's a scene where Denzel Washington's character gets whipped for deserting. Well, this had been outlawed 5 or 6 or even 10 years. I'm not exactly sure. I keep finding different dates that say it was outlawed. It had been outlawed years before in the Army. So he wouldn't have been whipped for that. And that was not the prescribed punishment for desertion anyway. So that whole scene wouldn't have happened, if that makes any sense. Once again, it's a poignant scene in the movie. So another thing is they talk about the fact that when they promote Morgan Freeman's character to or sergeant major, they said, "Hey, the regiment was founded with the stipulation that it would only have white officers." Well, open up the official history of the regiment, and there's a picture of 4 black officers. Now, they were all lieutenants, and according to what I researched, you could make lieutenant in the Union Army without having a commission. You could get promoted from the enlisted ranks up to lieutenant. A commissioned officer was rank above lieutenant. So, small distinction, but there were black officers. There were 3 of them, and then the chaplain was black. So, once again, I don't know why would they put that in there when they had it? Why wouldn't they just show the pictures of the officers? Poetic license, I guess. And then, I said that already. And then the last thing that I thought when I watched the movie, because I sort of remembered the story because I'm sort of a history nerd anyway, I saw this movie in 1990. And I remember because I was studying to do a bunch of boards in the Army where you have to go test your knowledge. And they would always ask who was the first Black Medal of Honor recipient. And it was Sergeant Carney. Well, he was from the 54th. And it happened during the Battle of Fort Wagner. So why didn't they put that in the story? It was amazing, right? It's this heroic thing. He runs up the fights, leading the battle, colors in front of the Union Army or the Union forces, gets up on top of this berm, the closest they got to the fort, sticks the flag down there, gets wounded 5 times, and then finally retreats and gives the flag to somebody else and famously says, "I did my job, the flag didn't touch the ground," or "All glory didn't touch the ground," or something like that. Put that in the movie, please. Anyway. So there are other small ones, like the attack happened from south to north towards the fort, not north to south as shown in the movie. But it looks like they were filming in the winter, so the sun was towards the south, so they probably did that for filming purposes because it wouldn't film very well to have the sunlight behind but you would want to attack out of the sun, right? Anyway, these are just some things to know. Now, like I said, what we're going to do then is we're going to analyze the story in the movie. So I'm going to do the criticisms or the observations based off of that with this in mind, if that makes any sense, because otherwise we'll drive ourselves crazy. And again, the difficulty I found was the only real thing that we have about Colonel Shaw, who's the person I'm going to talk about the most, is some letters that he wrote. And then there's a bunch of stories that are about him, but they don't really divulge a whole lot about his leadership. So we're just going to analyze the character in the movie, if that makes sense. Just want to set those parameters. Okay, so let's talk about 2 things because we have to bring this anytime we're going to analyze an individual's behavior, right? So the definition that we have proposed, leaders attune competence and environmental hierarchies in pursuit of a goal. Okay, that's the definition. My contention is that some of the issues that arose during the first part of the movie is that he did not set the environment right. So there's a couple of scenes where, if you've seen the movie, and I recommend you watch it because it's a good movie, right? It's great acting. There's a young man that is friends with the 2 white officers, and he enlists, but they've grown up together. So they're friends and they've been thick as thieves their whole lives. Now there's officers and enlisted, and the young man is talking to the officers, and Colonel Shaw says, "Hey, no fraternization." There's another time when the guy kind of seeks him out to talk to him individually and he blows him off. If you set the environment beforehand, everybody understands the environment. So then you go, remember what we talked about? That's all you have to say. You don't have to punk somebody out or make them feel bad in front of everybody. So the character did not set the environment correctly, right? And his goal was to train everybody. You can see that from the movie. His goal was to train everybody, prepare them for war. Great. We've got a goal. And then he goes through and does some things, right? So now let's look at the philosophy real quick. So he did not establish the environment correctly. I'm going to show some movie clips to talk about some of this. So let's go through the philosophy, right? So was he doing the action correctly? He didn't set the environment correctly because some stuff happened. And then we've got the philosophy. So integrity. So he vowed to train him as best as he could. Cool. And then you see throughout the movie, to the vigilance part, he's always on his horse. He's always standing over here observing training. Vigilance. Good job, right? Excellent job. And so as far as what he's trying to get the organization to do, he's got integrity. Then there's the pay protest. We're not going to get, we were told we were going to get paid this. We're going to fight until we get paid that. Integrity. Good job. However, I'm going to show an observation where I believe that there were some integrity issues. Humility. Now, the point where Denzel Washington's character is getting flogged, he realizes that that's bad. And so he goes and asks Morgan Freeman's character, I would like you to help me. I'd like to talk about the men with you from time to time, I think is the quote. And so he realizes that maybe he didn't have, knew everything that he knew. Well, the empathy thing I'm going to show you, we're going to go through that and have a little discussion about that. And then the vigilance, paid attention to training, marksmanship, and speed and all that sort of stuff. And then later on, there's this atrocity that happens where the regiment is assigned to another guy, another colonel, and they go and raid this town called Darien, Georgia. They went in there, didn't find any rebels, and the other colonel, not Colonel Shaw, ordered them to burn the town down. Colonel Shaw said, I'm not gonna. Big fight ensued. Finally, the colonel said, I will take your soldiers away. So Shaw says, okay, burn the town. Then he immediately left and wrote a letter saying, I don't believe in any of this. We're not burning down the town. Happy to destroy something that's contributing to the war, but not innocent civilians. And he asked the general a question, but the question was never answered, if you read that thing from the regiment. So, pretty good on the philosophy with regards to the unit. But I'm going to show 3 clips now where there's integrity and empathy problems, right? And this is integrity. Remember, if we go back all the way back to the philosophy chapter, where we talk about what integrity is, it's, your closeness to self. In other words, how whole is your philosophy? How whole is your behavior? And then empathy, not sympathy, but how are you able to feel what's going on, right? So I'm going to show 3 clips. And then real quick in between, I'll sort of set the clip up, real quick, do the clip, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. And then I'll show you an observation. And like I said, this is where going through this completely, well, not completely, but radically changed my perspective on this movie and its portrayal of leadership. Okay, so we will pause here for just a second.
You're not this big boy, you'll get up! You'll fall out when I say enough before. Do you understand English? I said get up!
Sergeant Major.
Sir.
At ease, Sergeant. I have no doubt that you are a fair man, Mulcahy. I wonder if you are treating these men too hard. You disagree? You may speak freely.
The boy's your friend, is he?
We grew up together, yes.
Let him grow up some more.
I see.
Will that be all, sir?
Yes. Dismissed.
Okay, so in that scene, obviously doing some hard training, and that soldier Thomas is the guy that's the friend of Colonel Shaw. So Remember what happened there. Hard training, can't handle the training, a little bit of discipline. Okay, so just remember that. And then next clip will be another one about training.
Do that again. Here, give me your weapon. Give me. Do that again.
One down, he can't do.
Dan? Dan on each other. I want money. Do it again. Go on, boy. Go ahead. Go ahead, boy. Go ahead, Shot. That's a dime on each of you.
Attention! Company! Attention, company!
As you were. Front and center. You're a good shot, Private.
Thank you, sir. Squirrel hunting.
You ever killed a man?
No, no, sir.
But you're handy with a gun.
Yes, sir.
Reload. Faster. Faster. Faster! Discharge your weapon. Discharge your weapon. Do it! Now do it again, only this time, I want it done quickly. A good man can fire 3 aim shots in a minute. Major Forbes, give me a Colt revolver.
One.
Your gun. Give it to me. Faster. Reload. Quickly. Faster. Faster. Load. Faster. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Teach them properly, Major.
Yes.
Okay, so again, training, hard training, got it, no big deal. And just so you know, the reason that I keep moving the mouse all over the screen is to try to keep things so that I can't get copywritten. So it's the thing and it's got stuff on it, you know. I don't want to get in trouble from TriStar saying that I'm trying to steal their stuff. Anyway, so good objectives and good goals, right? Okay, no problem. So one more clip, and then we'll have a little discussion.
You're not at dancing school, son. Take his head off. Gus! Develop! Guard! Jesus, Mary and Joseph, what have we here? Bonnie, Prince Charlie, and his little toy bayonet. You're not reading your books now. Go on, get over, get over. Now stab me.
What?
Stab me. Come on, stab, not tickle. Hit me. Come on! You prissy little schoolgirl. You're the worst soldier in this whole company. Now hit me! No shame, son. Get up. I said get up!
Okay, so what did we notice that was sort of in common about those 3 things, right? So in the first case, the training sergeant major's running him hard, working. Thomas is the young man. He falls down, kicks him, roughs him up. Okay. The colonel says, hey, is this good or is this bad? You know. Then, if we do the next one where the colonel gets upset because they're not training properly with the rifle, and then goes and fires a pistol right behind somebody's head, but that's okay. And then, again, bayonet training, sergeant major hits the guy in the face with the rifle, which is going to hurt a lot. Well, the thing is all three of those are hard training. So if you have any integrity with your training, right, integrity, then either all of that is good or none of it is good. Because, knocking a guy down and kicking him, hitting him with the bayonet, or shooting a pistol right behind your skull, which is going to hurt your ears quite a lot. I mean, it's very painful. They're all bad. So where's the integrity, right? So that's what I talked about before about setting the environment correctly. This is how hard we're going to train and not any harder. This is what's going to be acceptable and not anything more. And so then the other thing is, he has those discussions, which once again, I'm sure it's for the movie, but should you have a discussion about that sort of stuff in front of your soldiers? At the one with the rifles, he walks over to the major and says, train them properly. You don't want to do that in front of the soldiers. You don't want to call out the sergeant major and say, are you being too hard on these guys? Because then it's, we've got something to work against. So that's, once again, that's integrity. Now, he's there the whole time. So the vigilance is there, but he's not, instead of having vigilance on the training, he has to have vigilance of his own integrity. See how that works? So he's got to pay attention to make sure that he's being consistent, because hard training is important, right? Realistic training is important. How far are you going to go? And you should establish that at the beginning, because then you don't have those sort of incidents. And then I don't want to show it just because it's, it's, what do you call it? It's violence. I don't want to show the thing, but there's a scene where Denzel Washington's character runs off to get some shoes, and he gets flogged, right? So the punishment's whipping. Like we said, not historically accurate, but it happens. So here's my question, right? Where's the empathy? Because how are you going to take somebody, because Denzel Washington's character actually was a runaway slave. How are you going to take somebody that's been whipped for punishment their whole life, and then now we're in a new army and we're trying to fight for freedom, but I'm going to do the same junk that these slave people or slave owners were doing to you beforehand, right? What did he do to find out what was really going on? In other words, he should have found out why he ran away first, because I've done that before. Well, why did you do this outlandish thing, Mr. and Mrs. Person? Well, blah, 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 blah. And then you go, oh, you did that. Well, why was that not working? And then you start doing some analysis and find out you didn't do your job, which put them in a bad place. So you're going to punish them because you didn't do what you're supposed to do? There's the famous scene where Colonel Shaw goes and roughs up the quartermaster to get some shoes for him. Well, you should have been roughing him up at the beginning. So as far as the unit was going, his goal, and we've got environment, we've got competence. We've got environment. We've got competence and the goal, but the environment wasn't established correctly. And then integrity was fine as far as achieving that goal, but then as far as the individual internal consistency, that's where you have to be careful. So you should say all that at the beginning. Here's how far you can go. And then you watch to make sure he doesn't go over that. So if you say it's okay for the sergeant major to beat the snot out of the guy, okay. Well, then it's okay for him to beat the snot out of the guy. And then it's okay for you to be shooting the thing behind the person's head. I think that's too extreme, because that hurts. Have you ever fired a weapon like right here? It hurts. So that's my take on it. So if we look at the character now, obviously he grows into this, but the integrity part, as far as consistency, that's what it goes. And then, as we said, the empathy part's there. So I think it's a pretty good movie because it shows all of the things that you should go through as a leader. Remember, we've talked about this. Every time that you go to approach a situation, you should have these 4 things in your mind, or you do things based off of that. How much empathy? Right? Where was his empathy for the guy when he's shooting a pistol behind his head? Would he have done that to Thomas? Right? So that's integrity, that's empathy. He was paying attention all the time, so vigilance was good. Vigilance of the training, but not vigilance of himself and how he was interacting and making sure he was being consistent. So it's how much and at how time, or how much and at which time, and it always changes. It's always morphing. So like I said, this changed my perspective kind of radically on the movie, because I thought, oh, that's all excellent. But really, is it? Do you want to do that in front of people? Do you want to chew people out? I mean, unless you absolutely have to. I lost my mind a couple times as a leader, but it was only when people were being catastrophically stupid. So then it meant something. I wasn't just yelling all the time. Anyway, so hopefully you found that interesting, right? Go watch the movie for yourself. It's an excellent movie. And then here's some of the sources, obviously. So TriStar Pictures Glory came on 89. I saw it in 1990. I was in this little extended firefight in Panama in 1989. And then this is the book that was written. It's The Official History of the Regiment by Louis F. Emilio. You can get it from 1995. However, the one that I read was the original. This is the second edition, revised and corrected, so I guess there were some other issues. But this is in the U.S. Archives. So it's 1894. So it's really kind of cool to be reading something from that long ago. Here's what the cover looks like. Here's Sergeant Carney, right? First Black Medal of Honor winner in the history of the United States Army. Left him out of the movie. Come on. Really? And then here's the picture from the book of the officers. So anyway, that was that. And then I'm gonna close out with one little clip, because it's almost my favorite part of the whole movie. So we're gonna finish out with one little clip, and then we'll go to credits. All right? Thanks so much for your time, and have a great day.
He packed in the animals 2 by 2, ox, a camel, and a kangaroo. Packed him in that ox so tight, I couldn't get no sleep that night. Rolling Sons, Shep and Ham, tell them about God's master plan. Oh, my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh, my Lord, 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 Lord.
Tomorrow, we go into battle. So, Lordy, let me fight with the rifle in one hand and good book in the other. That if I should die at the muzzle of the rifle, die on water or on land, I may know that you, blessed Jesus Almighty, are with me. And I have no fear. Amen. Amen. Oh, my Lord, 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 Lord. Oh, my Lord.